in the shadow of crumbling walls that had protected Christendom for 1,000 years. The last Byzantine emperor clutched a vial of poison in one hand and a letter of betrayal in the other. But the greatest shock wasn't the conspiracy to kill him, it was discovering who had ordered his death. The morning of May 28, 1453, would be remembered as the day Constantinople fell. But for Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, it began with the horrifying realization that his most trusted advisor had been planning his murder for months. The pre-dawn mist clung to Constantinople's ancient walls as Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos opened the lead-sealed chest hidden beneath his chamber's floorboards. Inside lay documents that could reshape Europe and a vial of clear liquid representing his death sentence. 88. Constantine ruled an empire that had withered from 3 continents to merely Constantinople itself. Mehmed II's cannons had thundered against the Theodosian walls for weeks, each blast sending tremors through ancient stones and through Constantine's mysteriously failing body. The emperor's health had deteriorated over recent months. Persistent fevers left him delirious, speaking to long-dead emperors. A chronic cough brought up blood that stained his imperial robes. His physicians whispered of poison, but Constantine now knew the sinister truth. Secret correspondence in the chest revealed a Vatican conspiracy. Letters from Genoese merchants, Venetian spies, and Cardinal Isidore outlined a plot to use Constantinople's fall as justification for a new crusade, placing Constantine's nephew, John Cantacuzeno's, on a restored Byzantine throne under papal authority. But the final document made Constantine's hands tremble. A letter from his protovestiarios, Locus, Notaras's most trusted advisor. Your Majesty, the substance will ensure a death that appears natural during the siege. Better to die as a martyred emperor than live as Mehmed's puppet. The vial contained wolfsbane extract, designed to mimic plague symptoms. Constantine's recent illness hadn't been siege-stressed, had been carefully administered doses, weakening him for the final death that would coincide with the city's fall. As dawn broke over the Golden Horn, footsteps approached in the corridor. Someone was coming, perhaps Notaras himself, ready to administer the fatal dose. Constantine sealed the documents, but kept the poison vial. He had discovered the plot, but now faced a terrible choice: drink willingly and become a martyr for Western political games, or survive and expose the conspiracy that had condemned his empire. The footsteps stopped outside his door. The door opened to reveal Locas Notaras, carrying a silver goblet steaming with medicinal wine. The man who had wept with Constantine as Turkish forces surrounded their city now approached with the final instrument of betrayal. Your Majesty, Notaras said with practiced concern, you missed morning prayers. I've brought your medicine. His eyes, once warm with affection, now held calculated coldness. Constantine studied his oldest friend's face, searching for any trace of the loyalty they'd shared through years of decline. Laucus, do you remember when we were boys in Mistra? You swore you'd die before betraying me. A flicker of genuine emotion crossed Notariz's features. Some oaths become impossible to keep when empires crumble, and some become more sacred. Constantine stood slowly, the poison vial hidden in his palm. Tell me, old friend, what price did they offer for my soul? Notaraz's composure cracked slightly. Not money, survival, for our families, our faith, our people. Mehmed will show mercy to a city that surrenders after their emperor's natural death. But if you die fighting, he'll massacre everyone. Natural death? Constantine laughed bitterly. You call poison natural? The goblet trembled in Notariz's hands. How did you? Your correspondence was ... enlightening. Constantine pulled out one of the letters. Cardinal Isidore promises your son a position in the new order. The Genoese guarantee your family's estates. Quite profitable. My death. Notaras set down the goblet, his mask finally dropping. You don't understand the larger game, Constantine. Byzantium is dead. But from its ashes, we can build something that serves Christ, not politics. By murdering the last emperor in his bed. By ensuring his sacrifice means something. Notaraz's voice hardened. Drink the wine, Constantine. Die as an emperor, should peacefully, with dignity. Don't force me to make this uglier than necessary. Constantine noticed Notariz's hand resting on his dagger hilt. The man was prepared for violence if diplomacy failed. Outside, the first Ottoman cannon of the day boomed against the walls. Time was running short, and Constantine still held cards his betrayer didn't know about. Constantine smiled, but it was the cold expression of a chess master, revealing his winning move. Locus, you've made one crucial error. You assumed I was alone in discovering your treachery. The color drained from Notaras's face. What do you mean? 3 nights ago, I shared your letters with someone you never suspected was still loyal to me. Constantine moved toward the window, keeping distance between them. Someone who's been feeding you false information about my health, my plans, even my location. From the shadows behind a tapestry stepped a figure that made Notaras gasp. Gennadios Scholarios, the monk scholar whom everyone believed had fled to the Ottoman camp weeks ago. His presence meant Constantine had been playing a deeper game than anyone realized. Gennadios has been my eyes and ears in Memdi's court, Constantine continued. Did you really think I'd trust my empire's final days to prayer alone? Every detail of your conspiracy has been documented. Every co-conspirator identified. Notaras stumbled backward, his carefully laid plans crumbling. You're bluffing. Gennadios converted to Islam. He serves the Sultan now. The monk scholar spoke. For the first time, his voice carrying deadly calm. I serve Christ, and the true emperor. My apparent conversion allowed me to learn of Mem's real intentions. Even if Constantine dies naturally, the Sultan plans to massacre the city anyway. Your Western allies already know this, they simply don't care. Impossible, Notaras whispered, but doubt crept into his voice. Constantine held up another document, this one bearing Ottoman seals, Mem's actual orders to his generals. Constantinople will burn regardless of how I die. Your precious families will perish whether you murder me or not. The only difference is whether I die as a poisoned puppet or fighting as an emperor. The goblet slipped from Notaras's nerveless fingers, clattering on the stone floor and spilling its deadly contents. The man who had orchestrated an empire's betrayal suddenly understood he had been played by all sides. But there's still a chance to redeem yourself, Constantine said softly. Gennadios has learned something else from the Ottoman camp, something that could save thousands of lives, though it requires the ultimate sacrifice from both of us. Notaras looked up desperately. What sacrifice? Constantine exchanged a meaningful glance with Gennadios before answering. The monk nodded, grimly, confirming they both understood what had to be done. The Sultan's son, Bayezid, commands the naval blockade. He's also Cardinal Isidore's secret correspondent, Dand, your conspiracy's true mastermind. If we can expose his role in manipulating both sides, we might prevent future bloodshed across Europe. Outside, the Ottoman bombardment intensified. Time was running out, but Constantine had one final card to play, one that would require him to walk directly into Mem's camp under the pretense of surrender. Under cover of a white banner of truce, Constantine rode through the Ottoman camp, with only Gennadios as escort. The sight of the last Byzantine emperor seeking audience caused a sensation among Turkish soldiers, but Memdi's guards quickly surrounded them and led them to the royal pavilion. Mehmed II, the 21-year-old conqueror, received them with barely concealed triumph, but Constantine's attention focused on the figure standing beside the Sultan's throne, Prince Byzantine, whose presence confirmed Gennadios's intelligence about the deeper conspiracy. The purple phoenix comes to submit at last, Mehmed said with calculated mockery. How fitting that the final emperor should kneel before the new Caesar of Rome. Constantine remained standing. I come with a proposition that concerns your son's treachery, not my submission. The silence that followed was deafening. Bayezid's hand moved instinctively to his weapon, but his father's raised hand stopped him. Explain, Mehmed commanded, his voice dangerously quiet. Your son has been corresponding with Western powers, promising them Constantinople's fall in exchange for future support for his own claim to your throne. Constantine produced the letters Gennadios had intercepted. Cardinal Isidore acts as his intermediary, while Locus Notaras serves as their agent in my court. Mem's expression darkened as he examined the documents. Each letter bore Bayezid's personal seal and detailed promises to limit Ottoman expansion into Europe once he became Sultan. Father, these are forgeries, Bayezid began. But his protest died as Mehmed found a letter describing the old Sultan's supposed illness and anticipated death within 2 years. You've been planning my succession rather optimistically, Mehmed observed coldly, and promising away half our future conquests to buy Christian support. Constantine pressed his advantage. The poisoning plot against me was designed to provide you with a bloodless victory, yes, but more importantly, to establish Bayezid as a ruler Europeans could negotiate with, a puppet sultan controllable through Western gold. Gennadios stepped forward, producing another document. This is Prince Bayezid's agreement to convert to Christianity in secret once he gains the throne. With papal recognition following, the revelation hit like a thunderbolt. Several Ottoman generals reached for their weapons, but Mehmed's cold fury held them back. "My son," the Sultan said with deadly calm, "you seem to have inherited your grandfather's fondness for Christian alliances. Perhaps you've also inherited his fate." Bayezid's face went pale. His grandfather, Mehmed I, had been murdered by his own janissaries for perceived weakness toward Christian enemies. "But why tell me this?" Mehmed asked Constantine. "You could have used this knowledge to bargain for your city's safety." Constantine met the young conqueror's gaze steadily. "Because some truths are more important than temporary survival. And because I have one final request that requires your honor, not your mercy." The tension in the pavilion was electric. Every person present understood they were witnessing a moment that would reshape the balance of power between East and West. "Name your request," Mehmed said, though his tone suggested he already suspected what Constantine would ask. "Single combat," Constantine replied simply. "You and I, before both armies. Winner takes Constantinople, but the loser's people are spared massacre. Let this end as it began, with honor between warriors, not poison between allies." The Ottoman generals erupted in protests, but Mehmed silenced them with a gesture. "You would stake your city on personal combat, at your age, against mine. I would stake it on the principle that some things matter more than victory." Constantine's voice carried across the pavilion. "Your son planned to rule through Western manipulation, proved that the House of Osman needs no such weakness." Bayezid found his voice at last. "Father, don't listen to this desperate old man. Take the city by force as planned." Silence. Mehmed's command cut like a blade. "You've already proven your counsel worthless." He studied Constantine with growing respect. "You know you cannot defeat me in combat. What do you truly seek? To die as an emperor should, and to give my people a chance at survival under an honorable conqueror rather than a puppet ruler controlled by foreign priests." Constantine glanced meaningfully at Bayezid. "Sometimes the greatest victory is preventing a greater defeat." Gennadios stepped forward. "Sultan Mahmud, I've lived in both courts. Emperor Constantine speaks truth. Honor this request, and history will remember you as a great ruler who needed no conspiracies to claim his victories." Mehmed was quiet for a long moment, weighing options that would affect the course of empires. Outside, the sounds of preparation for the final assault continued. But inside the pavilion, a different kind of battle was being fought. "If I agree," Mehmed said finally, "what guarantee do I have that this isn't another Byzantine trick?" Constantine removed his purple cloak and imperial crown, placing them at Mehmed's feet. "Because I offer them freely now. Win or lose our combat, you are the Sultan of Constantinople. I seek only the manner of its ending." The gesture shocked everyone present. For a Byzantine emperor to willingly relinquish the symbols of his authority was unprecedented. Father Bayezid tried again. "Remember the plan. Your plan involved making me a puppet ruler backed by foreign gold," Mehmed said sharply. "Constantine offers me the chance to be a conqueror who needs no such support." He looked at his son with disgust. "Guards, escort Prince Bayezid to confinement. We'll discuss his correspondence with Cardinal Isidore after Constantinople falls." As his son was led away in chains, Mehmed turned back to Constantine. "Very well, Emperor. At dawn tomorrow, we fight. But no, this sigh will show you no mercy in combat." Constantine smiled grimly. "I would be insulted if you did." But as he prepared to leave the pavilion, Constantine caught Gennadios' eye. Monk's slight nod confirmed that their real plan was proceeding perfectly. The combat was just the final act of a deception that would save more than Constantinople. At dawn, as promised, Constantine faced Mehmed in single combat before the walls of Constantinople. But what the assembled armies couldn't see was the small cut on Constantine's palm, made during the night with a blade dipped in the very wolfsbane, intended for his murder. The poison worked slowly, just as Notaras had planned. To watching soldiers, it appeared that the aged emperor was simply outmatched by the young sultan's superior skill. Constantine fought valiantly but grew steadily weaker. finally falling to Mem's blade as the sun reached its zenith. What didn't realize, what no one knew except Gennadios, was that Constantine had chosen the timing of his own death. The monk scholar carried the emperor's final secret, not just letters exposing Prince Bayezid's treachery, but documents proving Mehmed himself was Constantine's illegitimate son. Years earlier, during a brief peace, Constantine's sister Helena had been married to Mehmed's father but had become pregnant by Constantine during a forbidden liaison. The child born was raised as a legitimate Ottoman prince, never knowing his true parentage. Constantine had discovered this truth only weeks before the siege began. Gennadios watched as Mehmed knelt beside Constantine's body, showing unexpected grief for his fallen opponent. The young sultan would never learn that he had just killed his own father, a secret that would die with the last Byzantine emperor and the monk who carried it. As Ottoman soldiers prepared to enter Constantinople, Gennadios slipped away into the crowd. Hidden in his robes were documents that would surface years later in Venetian archives, exposing the Western conspiracy that had manipulated the fall of the last Christian empire in the East. But some secrets, the monk decided, were too terrible to preserve. As he walked through the conquered city's burning streets, Gennadios fed the proof of Mehmed's parentage to the flames. Some truths died with empires, and perhaps that was for the best. The last Byzantine emperor had achieved his final victory in preserving his empire, but in ensuring that future generations would remember he died with honor rather than treachery, and in protecting a conqueror who was, unknowingly, the last heir of the Purple Phoenix. Constantinople had fallen, but the blood of Constantine XI would rule it still.